All right, okay. Let's get started with this. Okay, so types of comedy that are being ranked. Okay, just straight up starting off strong, we have word association. Now, word association, I feel, is very person based. Like, some people love word association, they just think it's so fucking funny. And some people just don't get it. They just don't get what's funny about word association. Uh, I personally, I don't get it that much. I remember one time I said that, my name is Goop the Amorphibian, and my friend just died laughing for like 10 minutes because word association. For that reason, it has very high highs for some people and just nothing for others. And I feel like that puts it in B tier. It's like it's either really funny but really dumb and like it's dumb, or it just does absolutely nothing for you. So I think we could have to put it in B tier. Puns. Puns I feel like is worse. Puns get a very bad rap. I feel like puns are okay. Not terrible. Nobody's gonna like die laughing at a pun. Let's be honest. No one's dying laughing at a pun. Ever. But you are gonna like want to hurt somebody if they make a bad one, or a stupid one. Really, you want to hurt someone if they make a pun in general. Um, yeah, no, puns suck actually. Wait. No, puns are just bad. No, I was going to give it some grace, but I don't think I literally don't think I can. Wordplay. Wordplay is pretty funny. Wordplay can be pretty funny. It's complex. It's kind of intellectual. Double entendres, the king of quintuple, hextuple, septuple, decatuple entendres here. Master of wordplay. Awfully hot coffee pot. What did he mean by that? I think I have to put it in A tier for that reason. I think I have to put it in A tier. It's an awfully hot A tier. Band kid humor. Speaking of A pose. Just awful. Just generally awful. Um, I think I have to define band kid humor. It's like, but I kind of don't know how. Band kid humor kind of takes this sort of idea of it's like dorky on purpose, and it's like a culturally like recognized. You're making references to yourself, which is the weird thing. Band kid humor is when you are so obsessed with your concept of self that you don't understand anything else. And so you just make jokes about shit that only you're interested in. So you can only talk about Deltarune. You can only talk about Amori. You can only talk about Jacksepticeye and all of these things which you grew up with and that you enjoy. And you are literally physically incapable of looking outside of yourself. And so the main joke becomes you. You are the joke. And that's funny. So I have to put this in D tier. I have to put this in F tier. I have to make an F tier. It's not above D tier. That would make no sense. I'm gonna make it red too. Actually, I'll make it purple. Isn't that what people usually do? They make it purple. Like a lighter purple. Yeah, F tier. Okay, I have to put that in F tier. Dad jokes. A lot of people have a lot of reverence for dad jokes. Personally, I don't find them very funny. I don't think anyone finds them very funny. I think they have respect for them, but generally speaking, I mean, there's just not a lot there. Like, you're never gonna go ha 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 at a dad joke. If a dad joke is genuinely funny, it's usually not because it's a dad joke. It's usually because there's some other elements to the humor that make it entertaining. Like, I don't even know, like, with a lot of dad jokes about like women, about like how like fucking stupid people are. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of dad jokes. All I know is that I've seen dad joke competitions. Not funny. Didn't laugh a single time. Wasn't even close to laughing at any given point. But people hold a lot of reverence for them, and I know some people find them funny, dads. So I have to put them kind of at C tier. Retail humor. So retail humor is like if you're old and you've sort of run out of things to do, you memorize two or three phrases that you can use in the world around you. Like the world is over right now. Currently, as we're sitting here speaking, the world has ended. There is nothing left to do. When you walk outside, you see the lifeless husks of what may be considered human beings walking around. And so you've decided, you know what, I'm just going to test the waters a little bit. I'm going to try to interact with other people in the real world, which is a trend that's died out in the past couple decades. And you just memorize like two or three things to say. Oh, oh, it didn't go through. The card didn't go through. Oh, that means it's free, right? Ah ha ha. Yeah. You know, you're making jokes at people who are paid to make you feel good. You're literally paying somebody to laugh at you, which is sad, but typical for modern times. Um, I'd probably put them at D tier. Nobody enjoys them, but the person telling the joke is at least having a good time. It's not like band kid humor though, because if it happens, like if you see it happening, you don't immediately like, you know, tense up and curl into a ball and like hope, like pray to God that maybe the Heaven's Gate people were right and something is just going to take you. That a comet is going to fly across the earth and take you with it so that you can leave the situation. If you see it happen, like in the wild, you're like, whatever, you know. I don't really give a shit. So I think it's D tier's good. Political humor. Of course, we have the swastika pizza from not Papa John's. I think it was from Little Caesars. Political humor has the capability of being extremely funny and also the capability of being extremely overwhelmingly unfunny. Attack helicopter jokes. So fucking old. They were old like a month after they started being made, like 2015. And they just kept making them over and over and over again. I think I heard somebody make one 7 months ago. And it's like, dude, it's been a decade. It's been a decade, you know? But then you look at other political humor, like The Onion. Banger, banger, banger. And, you know, call me a Generation Y, you know, libtard. But I like The Onion. I think The Onion's fucking funny as shit. And a lot of what they do is political humor. And so I would put at the highest highs, I'd say A tier. Political humor is A tier. You're never gonna get the belly laugh that you would get from other kinds of humor. Sometimes you look at it and it makes you want to tear your skin off. So it's between A and F. I think I have to put it at C. It's like the opposite of a dad joke. Dad jokes are so inoffensive, and then political jokes are like on two ends of the spectrum. So I think it's kind of fitting that they're right next to each other. Self-deprecating humor, I'll put it a D tier. Um, you're never really going to laugh at a self-deprecating joke ever, unless it's like really well constructed. Self-deprecating humor is generally unfunny and it makes people uncomfortable. It can be done in very specific contexts where everyone has like the clarity of mind to know that you're joking and that you're not being serious. But overall, self-deprecating humor just makes people uncomfortable. So I have to put it at D tier. Poop humor, poop, stinky, fart, butt humor. Um, really funny when you're, you know, like 1 to 8 years old. Like as soon as you begin understanding the language that you speak, poop is funny. And then you hit like your tweens, Like, when does tween start? Aren't you always a tween until you're a teenager? Is it when you're between toddler and teenager? Because that's like 6 to 12. It feels like a lot of development happens at the time. I don't know. The point is, poop humor is funny when you're young, and then it really stops being funny when you discover what sex is. So when you sex funny, poop funny. When you discover what sex is, this becomes the penultimate humor. And then it kind of goes back. It kind of middles out once you've hit maturity, and they're both kind of funny. I think I would put poop jokes. Honestly, I think it's at word association. I think poop is at word association. It's classic. It's timeless. Humans are never going to stop pooping or farting or peeing on one another, in one another. And that's always going to be funny. Sex, same thing. Sex is always going to be funny. But I think there's more to sex, kind of. There's more elements that I feel like can be used. So I feel like it's above poop. I feel like it's above poop, but not by much. Not by a ton. I'm not sure. I'll sit on this one for a little bit. Sit on it. Funny. We'll see where we come to later. Bullying, and by this I don't mean like bullying as in like hog tying a kid naked and then throwing him in the basketball closet for a day, or like shoving a kid down the stairs. I mean like like you're just making fun of your friends. Like, if your friend's like, oh, my girlfriend's gonna come pick me up, and then one of your other friends is like, oh, your girlfriend has a car, and you're like, yeah, she has a Playmobil. Then that's funny because you're making fun of your friend. You're like calling him a pedophile or whatever. It's like funny. It's funny. Don't say it's not funny. Picking on people is funny. Again, sort of like self-deprecating humor, with the clarity of mind that you're just kidding. You're just like pinching at them. I think men find this way more funny than women do, just based on like interacting with them. Men find it so funny to call each other pedophiles and rapists and like, disgusting degen, whatever, gooners. And so I think for men, or for male friend groups, this is A tier, if not S tier. But for women, probably B tier. Although, of course, men and women are not that different. I feel like men just try to like one up each other a little more than women do. So I think for both genders, it's probably pretty close to A tier. I think for men, it's like high A. For women, it's like low A. Loud is funny. This is sort of like poop and sex funny, but way worse. It just isn't that funny. There's not a lot of laughs you can get out of it. Now, is it better than retail humor? Yes. Is it better than political humor or dad jokes? No. Maybe I'd put it high D. I think I'd put loud funny over puns. And maybe I drop retail humor down to F. High F. It's not terrible. No. Some retail humor is like, makes you think. It makes you think a little bit, but it's just bad. Okay. Millennial humor. What the fuck? Tell me it's saved. I'm gonna kill myself. Okay, good. Millennial humor. Millennial humor is like, I feel like I have to describe this because it's been eating away at me. Millennial humor is like what a baby would find funny if you made it watch a bunch of TV shows from the 90s and early 2000s and then gave it the ability to speak English. Millennial humor is the humor that a big 90s baby would have. like silly faces. Silly faces is hilarious to millennials. They love that shit. Doing this is fucking hilarious. If you're a millennial watching this, you probably just fucking died laughing because um this is F tier. This is terrible. Millennial humor is unbelievably unfunny. It is genuinely upsetting to look at. Um, and to be, imagine being a millennial. Oof. Sorry, this is supposed to be a funny video, not a scary one. Sorry, got in the wrong headspace there. Observational humor, observational comedy. We're into comedies now. Isn't that interesting? We're into types of comedy, not humor. Observational comedy gets a bad rep because of pedophiles like Jerry Seinfeld, but in reality, observational humor is unbelievably funny. It is the basis for so much comedy. It is so funny. Like, if you know a person who's like really good at observational comedy, you know it's fucking funny as shit. It's really fucking funny. And it's not just like what's the deal with airline food. It's like, you know, when you're like, you know, how come when I pee it goes straight down or to the left? You know, if you're a dude. It's like relatable humor. I know Tony Stavacci or whatever his name is. A lot of his shit is observational humor. A lot of like Reels content is observational humor about things. You know, it's like doing an impression of my dryer and it's just handing you fucking wet clothes. Oh, this is 30 minutes late? Oh, did you want it to be dry? You know, that kind of shit. It's fucking funny. It's relatable. It's funny. Relatable is funny. Satire. Now, this is a deep cut. Not really a deep cut. This is actually a pretty surface level cut for satire. Um, the image, the subway baby. It's not. It has nothing to do with Subway, but it does. You know if you know. Okay, you know if you know. Satire. Satire can be either extremely funny, going back to the Onion. Onion is so funny. But then let's look at the opposite. Let's look at bad satire, like the Babylon Bee, which is the Onion but right wing. So it's bad satire. The problem, and I guess this isn't really a problem, is that satire is so to have the thought that like I'm going to make satire, it is already so cerebral that you have to be sort of on a higher level before you even start making it. Because the decision to make satire already requires a clarity of thought, which does not happen for a lot of people, right? So I feel like, in terms of political, I think it's similar to political humor, but because the barrier of entry is higher, I think it goes up to B tier. I think it's better than when sex funny significantly. I think it's as good as bullying. I think satire is as funny as bullying. I think wordplay is kind of high. I think wordplay is like bottom A tier. Okay. Is is satire better than bullying? I don't think so. I don't think it can be. I think it's funny. It's not that funny. Okay. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is interesting because not every culture has sarcasm. Some cultures are completely devoid of sarcasm as like a mode of comedy, which I find so interesting. And because of that, I feel like I have to explain it a little bit. Um, Sarcasm is when you say something so obviously untrue that the only feasible thing you could mean is the opposite. For example, a few days ago, my coworker was talking to me. He was like, "Oh, my wife suggested I put this antibacterial honey on my cellulitis, which is an infection on his leg." And I said, "You know, um, I don't think I'd put anything with sugar on an infection." And he said, no, but it's like antibacterial, it's like supposed to be oral. My daughter, she eats it whenever she has like a cold or something, and it's very helpful. And I said, yeah, I find antibacterial medication helps with viral diseases or something like that. And he didn't get it. The joke is that obviously an antibacterial medication would have no effect on a viral disease, obviously. But to me, the joke was that he didn't get it. That was the funny thing. So I kind of like laughed to myself. That's sort of what sarcasm is. It's you're almost making a joke to yourself because you're making fun of whatever you've just seen or heard. Because of that, I kind of can't put it above C tier because the recipient of your joke is just you. You're the only one making the joke. And like maybe other people around you hear it, but you're the audience of your own sarcasm. So I kind of can't put it any higher than C tier. I'm going to put it at high C tier because it is fucking funny. Like if you do it well, it is fucking funny. And if you do it well, other people understand what you mean and they like get your point. When you can do that, then it's really funny. Like you'll be like in a debate or an argument, and you will say something that they said but slightly differently in a way that makes it sound really bad, and then even they'll laugh, and it's like you're essentially mocking them, and they're laughing because that's what sarcasm is. It's like polite. It's not polite. It's like intellectual mockery, which sounds like really like egotistical, but it's not. It's mockery, but you're not just going. You're just I'm repeating what you say. I'm repeating what you say. You're just not doing that. You're actually putting thought into how you're mocking. References. References are very high, and you might be surprised at how high references are, in my opinion. But references are like the basis of communal understanding. They are the basis of, I understand. It's a very intimate kind of comedy where you're reflecting the cultural values that you and the other person share. You are signaling that you know their cultural values reflect with yours and are similar to yours. And you're doing it in a way that is shocking but makes sense. It's funny. So it does all of these things at once. It is very dynamic. It's very elegant way to signal so many things. And so I have to put it in S here. Meme culture is sort of like references, but it's even more intimate. And somehow that makes it much worse. Because the way it's made more intimate is that you both of you are deciding that at some point what you're saying right now is going to not be funny. At some point, what we're doing here, all this shit is going to be terrible. It's going to be unbelievably unfunny in even like 3 weeks. And so it's significantly more intimate, but it's fleeting. It's fleeting, and you're always chasing the next Adrian. You're always chasing, the next Tyler Virgin Carmichael or whatever you're like the next niche thing to become part of your little insular community. And so I have to put it like poop humor. No, because poop humor is timeless. I have to put it like loud equals funny. Honestly, it's a little above loud equals funny. No, it's above dad jokes. Come on. It's above dad jokes. I think it's above dad jokes and below sarcasm. I think it's no, I put it above sarcasm. I think it's funnier than sarcasm. Shock humor. You just say something that's so horrifically that the other person's brain just has a conniption trying to understand what you're saying, like instantaneously, and you just laugh out of like it's almost like a fear laugh. Like how people say like the cousin of comedy is like tragedy or whatever because they both deal with like irony inherently, and irony can be tragic or you can turn irony into comedy. Shock humor is like the weird inbred second cousin of comedy, where it just attacks that little animalistic part of your brain and says, laugh now, it does all that. And some people, it's not funny at all. For some people, it's unbelievably funny. Overall, I'd probably put this at D tier. I think it's similar to Loud Equals Funny. I think it's better than Loud Equals Funny. Because Loud Equals Funny is so much more dumb. Loud Equals Funny is more of like a textural thing, where you're adding texture to something that's probably already funny in some other way. Shock humor is similar, but I think it's just more interesting. Dark humor. Dark humor isn't bad per se. Dark humor gets a bad rap because of idiots who use it. I think the way I think about dark humor is like, again, comedy is based on irony, right? So when you're using dark humor, you are showing the world as you wish it was. This like ideal world, or maybe not even an ideal world, just maybe a world which you believe is good. And you are showing the discrepancy between that world and the world that we see. And the world that we see is dark, and it is sad, and it's disgusting, right? So an example of that might be, like, again, this is dark humor, so we're going to go to a dark place. Okay. A Hamas soldier walks towards a group of IDF soldiers with a gun, but no protective gear. He's just in a t-shirt and sweatpants. And his friend says to him, "Wait, they're going to shoot at you. Don't you need a helmet or a bulletproof vest?" And the soldier turns around and says to his friend, "My friend, I appreciate your concern, but I don't think I look like a child." So that's dark humor. Because you're saying they should be shooting at the soldier, but they're not going to because he's not a child. The IDF shoots children mostly, or at least more than soldiers, and that is horrific. And you're saying the irony that the IDF shoots children instead of soldiers is horrific, essentially. And then you turn that into comedy. The problem with dark comedy is that it can be done the other way around, where the person uses the dark reality as the thing that should be aspired towards. Like, again, going back to the Israel-Palestine conflict, you'll see IDF soldiers calling home to their families laughing, being like, "Oh yes, we tried to find a baby we couldn't find when all we found was a 13-year-old girl, unfortunately." And so what they're joking about is the fact that in the real world, all they could kill was a 13-year-old girl, when in reality they wanted to kill babies, which is insane and is not funny. It is horrific. It is disturbing. And so even when dark humor is done well, it's really not that funny. It's like tinged with the sense of like pain and like anguish, and it's like you really don't like it. Like you laugh at it and then you feel bad, like in your diaphragm. It just hurts. And so I have to put it in like it's lower than political humor. It's higher than shock humor. I think I'd put it at high D tier. Anti-humor. Anti-humor is funny. Anti-humor is always going to be funny. As long as there is regular humor, there will be anti-humor, and it will be funny. Anti-humor, for those who don't understand, because it's not like super popular, is when the joke is that there is no joke. So, of course, the classic example: why did the chicken cross the road? Why? To get to the other side. But it's like you expect some sort of witty answer involving a chicken, involving a road, involving a chicken's wants and desires, and maybe how those contrast with the desires of people who are normally the ones who cross roads. But instead, you're left with a very simple answer, which is that it wanted to get to the other side. There is no joke. The chicken wanted to get to the other side, right? It's always going to be funny. And for that reason, I think I'm putting it in A tier. I think I'll put it middle of A tier. I think it's below satire. It's above wordplay. I think that's a good place. Okay. So now we reach an interesting part of the tier list where we have absurdism and surrealism. Absurdist and surrealist humor. These are different but similar, kind of. Absurdism is absurdist humor is humor that deals with sort of the meaningless of life. It's kind of cynical, where the point is that life is meaningless, life is absurd, life is chaotic, our choices don't matter that much in the end, and even if they did, we are incapable of making different choices. We are not responding to the chaos of the universe, we are part of it, and therefore ultimately are meaningless. So, absurdism, existence is meaningless, and then surrealism is kind of similar, but kind of the opposite, where surrealism takes the stance that existence is funny. Like, if this is um being, like the concept of being is worthless, then this is that the concept of being is funny. It is funny to exist inherently. It is interesting to exist inherently. I think the best way to look at absurdism versus surrealism in comedy is fucking Pickle Rick, where the absurdist lens of Pickle Rick is that Rick Sanchez, who is this incredible scientist, essentially omnipotent, right? Omniscient, extremely intelligent, extreme potency to um, uh, exactuate his will or whatever. He can do whatever he wants. He's essentially like he's the most powerful man in the universe, and what that leads him to is becoming a pickle. And so, despite all of his autonomy, despite all of his knowledge, despite all of this, he is left where all of us are, which is this helpless, meaningless thing that has really no autonomy over his own life and no way to actuate his own will in a way that matters. And that's the sort of absurdist lens. The surrealist lens is that Pickle Rick is funny because he's Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick. He's Pickle Rick. He's a pickle, and he's Pickle Rick. His name is Rick, and so when he's a pickle, he's Pickle Rick, and that's funny because he's Pickle Rick. So I'd probably put absurdism at A. Absurdism is funny. One like absurdist joke that I had when I was little is that I would say like the idea of superpowers came up all the time, and I would say, if I could have any superpower in the world, I would have the ability to change, and not like shapeshift. I just like to change and like become better, and like that's my superpower. Is that and of course you're implying that it's a superpower because nobody else has it, or that it's so rare that it's a superpower, that we are incapable of change, we are incapable of improvement, and that we are all destined to be the horrid self that we find in front of us. Surrealism is just kind of when you bring up something that's funny. Like you think it's funny because it's funny intrinsically. Um, this can be funny, but it gets old very quickly. Um, like potato bacon, not neat nigh on cat, right? Potato bacon, narwhal. Potato bacon, narwhal. Kind of references, but not really. It's surrealist humor. You are saying it's funny because it's a potato. It's funny because it's bacon. It's funny because it's narwhal. And those are aspects of millennial humor now. Um, but back in the day, it was genuinely funny surrealist humor, where the joke was existence itself. Whereas absurdist humor kind of stays. Surrealist humor kind of becomes less funny over time because things become less funny the more you think about them. Absurdist humor kind of stays funny because it is based on this unending human, the unending human existence, the unending human impotence to act despite the world, um, and to fall in front of it and weep and say, there is nothing more I can do. Um, so I think absurdism is A tier. I think surrealism is C tier. I think surrealism is probably funnier than dad jokes and less funny than sarcasm. Slapstick. Some people find this hilarious. Some people find this fucking unbelievably unfunny. I'll put it in B tier next to poop. Um, this one I can't explain to you. Every single kind of humor here, I can vaguely describe why it's funny. I cannot tell you why Gibberish is funny. I cannot tell you why Jinko Boteki is funny. And why Schlinkus isn't. I can't tell you why Bunko Bombrebus is kind of funny, and of course the titular character Chinky Minus is fucking hilarious. I can't tell you, and for that reason I'm putting it in S tier, because it's beaten me. It's defeated me. I have to put it in S tier. I have to put it in S plus tier, because it has escaped my grasp. I tried to wrestle it, I tried to choke it, I tried to bring it down, and it escaped. So it goes top of S tier. I don't know why it's funny, but it is. All of these are very similar to one another. Parody, impression, and minstrelsy. Parody is when you take any established thing and then change it and make it different in a way that comments on its original form or on something else that's similar to it, right? A lot of things you can do with parody. I would put parody very high. I love parody. I put it honestly next to references, maybe even above references, because a parody is like a more complex reference. An impression is when you're specifically doing a parody of a person or of a thing. Impressions are not that funny, in my opinion, especially ones that are like stupid. Doing an impression of a gun with your mouth, or a car stopping, or any number of sound effects is unbelievably unfunny. Doing an impression of Obama is pretty funny. So I think I'll put it probably by like Slapstick. I think impressions are vaguely similar to Slapstick in like how funny they are. Minstrelsy is, instead of doing an impression of a person, you are doing an impression of a racial stereotype. I think minstrelsy gets a lot of hate, rightfully so. Really a means of oppression, but sometimes, it can be empowering or something. I don't know. I'm white. Personally, I don't find minstrelsy very funny. I'm white. What would minstrelsy of a white person be? It would be what I'm doing right now. I'd probably put it below. Probably put it top of F tier. Yeah, top of F tier sounds good to me. It's funnier than band kid humor, but it's less funny than self-deprecating humor. It kind of is self-deprecating humor, but it's about something that like doesn't describe you. You know? Like, this isn't you. This is like the concept of you that other people have in their minds. That's not really funny. To me, at least. Fourth wall breaks. These can be funny. Like, it sort of depends. I think the best example of a fourth wall break that I could give is if you're watching like a car crash video and you see like a dog walk into the road, and then it's the green screen of a car crash happening on top of it, and you realize, oh yeah, this is a video. I'm not watching a real thing happen. This is a video. And then that sudden realization of the medium that you are observing is funny. I don't think it's going to stop being funny, really. I think I'd probably put it above sex jokes, but it's not timeless. Once you've seen the video once, like you know the fourth wall break's coming, and then it's significantly less funny. So it's not like absurdism, which kind of will stand the test of time no matter what. Um, these two, so it's high B. These two are interesting because I kind of, I don't know if I made them up or if I've heard of them somewhere, but what these are, this is hyperreality. Hyperreality is when you take something that is mundane, or maybe not mundane, but common, and you add elements to it that make sense but amplify it. I think the best example of this, which is now millennial humor or like band kid humor, but it used to be hilarious, is the term crippling depression. And you kind of take for granted now how funny crippling depression was. Crippling depression described a feeling that seemed very mundane and seemed very sort of unfunny, which is being so depressed or like not really sad, but like just down or in a rut that it's difficult for you to get out of bed, right? And then it compares that to a disability or being crippled, like you literally physically are injured, and attaches it to a medical definition. You call it crippling depression. And that was very funny for a very long time. And so I would have to put hyperreality at A tier because there are a lot of ways you can do this. Like, there's a lot of things. It's not just crippling depression. It's literally anything you look at, you could turn into hyperreality somehow by adding all of these extra cultural elements. I think a lot of like the internal thoughts that I have personally that I find funny, but I would never tell to another person is hyperreality. Like a few days ago, I thought soda is kind of like if you like if I described soda in a can to a person like 200,000 years ago, I'd say, imagine you took a river and put it in an egg and you were addicted to it. And that's hyperreality. You are amplifying all of these elements of the thing. And I found that funny, but not funny enough to like tell people. But I chuckled at it for a second. This is the opposite. This is what I call dumb reality, which is where you take something with a lot of cultural context, with a lot of information, right? When you think about it, a lot of synapses fire, and you just make it stupid. For example, if you called somebody fat, like if you saw a fat person in public, and you asked them, "Why are you round?" Something like that, right? You just take all you just dumb something. You just make something fucking stupid. You know, that's a dumb reality. And right now, I would put dumb reality above hyper reality. I think people find dumb reality to be slightly more funny than hyper reality right now, just because we had so much hyper real humor, like over the past like decade and a half, that I think dumb reality is becoming much more interesting, right? It is funnier to describe complex things as simple dumb things than the other way around. Um, that at least that's the current trend. Um, Redirection. Redirection. These are kind of more modes of comedy. Like this is how you deliver a joke. Redirection is when you following along like your train of thought that you're describing. People assume the next thing you're going to say. They assume what the point of your sentence is before you make it, and then at the end you flip it on its head in a way that makes sense. And then suddenly their brains are forced to wrap around, scratch everything, go back to this other thing. A few days ago, my friend was talking about, in the past like 6 months, my friend got a new motorcycle. It was about $6,000, and we were talking about how much rent was in Milwaukee, and he was like, damn, the rent is like, rent for however many months is like $6,000. Like, that's as much as a new motorcycle. And I was like, yeah, yeah. And, he's like wishing that he didn't buy that motorcycle that he bought. And then he was like, now I have to make $12,000. Now I have to make $12,000. Of course, the joke being that he wasn't regretting the $6,000 that he spent on his motorcycle. The joke is that he has to buy a new one and make rent. So, of course, that flipped in my mind, and it was funny. I remember it, and I ruined the joke by explaining it to you, but it was funny. You can imagine why that'd be funny. Redirection. Where did I even put it? Oh, here it is. Redirection is really funny. I think it's like S tier. I think it's above parody. It's so funny. Implication. Implication is when you say something that the actual meaning of the sentence is less important than what you're implying by saying it. It's similar to sarcasm, but the joke is to the person you're talking about. Implication. What's a good example of implication? There's the easy example where if somebody's like, "You want to go drinking tonight?" and you say, "Is the Pope black?" and I say, "No." That's like a bad example. It's just not like that's kind of like how old people used implication, but it's very situational because it's a very intelligent, and I'm not saying this to be like egotistical, but implication, it takes, like, when you hear a good implied joke, it you kind of clap in your head a little bit. You're like, wow, that was funny. That was good. And for that reason, I think, because not a lot of people can do it well. It's like, I don't think double digit IQs can make good implicative jokes. So I think I have to put it probably, it's above wordplay. Also, wordplay, way too high. I put implication probably behind anti-jokes or anti-humor. Riffing. Riffing can be funny. It can be. Sometimes when riffing is done well, it's like, it's pretty funny. You're like, yeah. When riffing is done poorly, it is it's so unfunny. It is so bad. Ugh. I mean, just think about your coworkers trying to riff with you. Oh my god. Put that in like political humor. I think political humor is a good place to put riffing. Deadpan. Deadpan is sort of like anti-humor, but like the opposite. Deadpan humor is sort of like the opposite of anti-humor, where the joke is that it doesn't sound like a joke until after it's finished. You realize it's a joke after it's done. So it's literally the antithesis of anti-humor, where anti-humor, you think it's a joke until it's over and you realize there was no joke. Deadpan, you don't think it's a joke until it's over and then you realize it was a joke. I think deadpan is often more appreciated than anti-humor, so I'd put it like slightly above it. And then irony, of course, is the basis of all humor. So the more ironic a joke is, the more funny it becomes, and vice versa. So I have to put it even above gibberish in terms of comedic value. Yeah. Okay. That looks like a good list to me. I think it's good. All right. I don't know if there are more kinds of comedy. This felt like a lot. I think there's 35 or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 6. So there's 36 kinds of comedy here, which I don't know if there's even more that exists. I couldn't think of any more. So, yeah, I don't know. I might make more content like this, maybe. I don't know. Probably not, but I just wanted to get this off my mind because this has been plaguing my thoughts for like the past 2 days, and I just had to fucking put it out there. So, yeah. If you think of more kinds of comedy, put it in the comments. I'll fucking tier it retroactively or something. But yeah, that's everything. All right.